What's up everybody, I.AM.OBG for tastingskills.com, and this is an explanation of the TechSheet 1.0. Now, before we cover it step by step, let me tell you why I use a technical sheet and why it's important for you to taste one. Well, for one, you need to follow a system so that you can be consistent in your tasting and learn to taste like a pro. That can only be achieved by following a system step by step in a linear way so that you can grow and eventually become a mean tasting machine. So let's cover how it works. The TechSheet 1.0 is divided in 4 parts so that you can adjust it in any way you like according to your tasting workflow. And we'll cover a little bit more in details at the end. For now, we're just going to look at it in depth. At the top, we've got 6 glass placements. Bottom left, we have our aroma grid. In the middle of that, we have a deduction grid. To the right of that, we have our 28 color spectrum grid so that we can take notes. And to the right, we have our notes. Okay, let's dive in deeper and understand how it works and why it's organized like this. So why do we have a 6 glass placement mat at the top? Well, traditionally, when we taste whiskey, beer, or wine for that matter, we never go over a flight bigger than 6 and never below 3. Since it usually takes between 3 to 5 minutes per product, meaning a flight will take between 20 to 30 minutes depending on the level that you're at. And that is a long time for you to stay focused when it comes to tasting something. Below the placemat, we have our aroma grid. And why an aroma grid? Well, for starters, an aroma wheel is inefficient and confusing. And the goal here is to taste in a linear way so that you're highly efficient. For example, at the top left, the first thing that we see, we have the nose, clean, faulty, oxidized, or corked. Is this product clean? Is there a problem with it? Or is it perfectly good? That is the first question we usually ask. Intensity, delicate, moderate, powerful. How is it on the nose? Age assessment. Is it youthful, develop, evolve? Is there any chemical aromas to it? Sulfur, rubbery, hydrogen sulfur, and so on. Floral. What types of floral? Orange blossom, rose, geranium. Under it, grassy, like fresh cut grass. For example, New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc always has that jalapeno fresh cut grass in it. It's just a duck. It looks like a duck. It smells like a duck. And fresh herbs. So we got a bunch of them here. Then we have the dried hay, straw. We have 8 different types of hops, and I've picked the top 10 here, and I've laid out, the top 8 because those are the most popular. Wine, sherry, Madeira, port. That's basically used for whiskey, usually traditionally, so that, when you taste a lot of whiskeys, a lot of them are finished in sherry butts, Madeira butts, or just port barrels. Types of wood. So the types of wood applies to wine, to whiskey, and also to beer, pine, cedar, oak, saddlewood, like if you're drinking a lager. Woody, is it burnt coffee, burnt toast, and so on. The types of grain that we usually encounter when we have beer. Rye, corn, oat, or wheat. Is it yeasty? Is the fermentation completely finished? And so on. Then bottom left, below the descriptive, deduction grid, we have spices like allspice, cumin, juniper berries, root spices, flower spices, nutty like chestnut, walnut, almonds, caramel, honey, butterscotch. To the right of that, we have chocolate like milk, dark, or fudge. Canned types of vegetable, green beans, asparagus, citrus like lemon, lime, grapefruit, and so on. Pear and apple. Are they yellow, green, red? Pepper, spice, jalapeno, black pepper, Szechuan pepper. Types of berries. We have them all. Meat, wild game, venison, bacon, lard. Tropical, guava, melon, mango. Mineral like whetstone, limestone, chalk. Is it flinty? Dry fruit, apricot, figs, prune. Forest like underbrush, moss, mushroom, green leaf, chlorophyll, barn hay, and so on. This accounts for about 175 aroma reference point, and of course I could never fit all of it in there because our olfactory bulb can do about 1 trillion combinations. So this is pretty much what the main grid you will get, and from there you can mix and match. Now, when we look in the middle of the aroma grid and we get to the deduction grid, I've laid it out pretty simply here. We have tannins, acidity, body, alcohol, texture, finish, length, complexity. Below that, the sweetness, like is it bone dry, dry, off dry, medium, and then the fruit character, ripe, fresh, tart, and bake or stewed, dried, or jammy. Now, from there, you could do a lot of combinations nonstop. And if you need to learn more on how to actually do deduction, you can go over to tastingskills.com, and there you'll find a yellow magical box where you can put your name and email. And in return, I will send you my free guide, which is 17 pages to the fundamentals of tasting. Like that, you can learn what is the perfect setup, how to taste, what are the steps that you follow. So all that said, now let's move on to the color spectrum. The color spectrum is basically 28 colors as reference points. And I split them for white wine or whiskey. So you have one at the top, this is white wine or whiskey. Then below we have red wine, we have another red wine, and then we have, like ports and really port cask aged whiskeys, so you get a lot of dark colors and so on, or American bourbon that's always dark. So the color spectrum at the top, it has a pale yellow all the way to orange. Below that, we have a pale pink all the way to burgundy, a purple pink all the way to black garnet, and then we have a light beige all the way to black and brown. Now, to the right of that, we have our tasting note space. And this is where usually we take our notes down, but this is where the TechSheet 1.0 really starts coming into its own, because I've made this TechSheet and it took me 2 years to develop to make sure that anytime I teach or I'm tasting, it could be versatile, meaning any environment I'm in, this is going to work. Now that said, when you look at the gray lines here that I've laid out, and that's, like I said, placemat, aroma grid, color spectrum, and notes. Well, once we cut them up, and I cut one up here so that you guys can see how it works. So here we go. Now, as you can see, I have my 6-glass placemat, so I can move it to the side. My glasses are too big. Well, I can cut it in half and reorganize in 2 sets of 3. You're a lefty? No problem. Let's switch it around. You can have the colors at the end so that you look at your color first. You put the glass down, you're looking things up, you're writing things down. So you don't want to take actual physical notes when you're writing down? No problem. You can just ditch this. You like to type it up, you can have your computer to the left side, to the right side. I usually prefer to have my computer right in front of me, having the grid coming down, having the color spectrum to the right, and having all of my placemats at the top. But when you say, okay, but what if I like taking notes and I like writing it down? Well, the TechSheet also comes with an extra note. And this is an 8.5 by 11 that folds, double-sided. So like that, you get an extra 24 notes. So like that, you're not gonna run out of tasting notes ever. And then on top of it, what if I'm at a wine expo, or I'm at a whiskey fair, or a beer show, and I'm standing up? Like, how am I supposed to manage all of this? Well, it also comes with a nifty accordion little rapid note, which you will fit 48 little notes right in here. Okay, so like that, you can just take your little notes. What I usually do is I go to the booth, I get a sample, I hold my glass on the left hand with my paper, I take a picture of the bottle, and then I write sample 1 or bottle whatever, and I have a picture of it, so like that I can go back at it later on. And then the nifty part about all of this is that you can also slip in the color spectrum right in there, so that like that you have all of your color spectrum. And if you take an older sheet and you do and cut, you can also have the deduction grid. So what I do is I have it folded, I take notes, I look at the color, then if I need like, oh, what type of body acidity, like, oh yeah, and then I just go in and I can take notes. And basically, this is the whole system. I have spent more than 2 years developing this system, and after 25 years of doing this, I really think that this is the best tasting system in the world. but I'm sure some of you will disagree. So what are the formats that this comes into? Well, there's two types. You could get the actual hard copies that come in packs of 12 or 24. And of course, you get the extra tasting sheet for taking notes, and you get also the rapid fire notes. And otherwise, you can get the digital download. The digital download comes with the technical sheet, the rapid notes, and the extra notes, and of course, instructions on how to print them and what type of paper and size you should be using. Other than that, this is an in-depth explanation of the TechSheet 1.0. I hope that you will follow me on YouTube at I.AM.OBG. Otherwise, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. Those are usually my main platforms. All that said, thank you for listening. I.AM.OBG from tastingskills.com. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.